Nico, I think you might be muted.
Aha, you are not hearing me. Or not.
Yes.
We are now here.
So I'll do that again. I'll be like, hey, welcome to the office hours of Typeform. It's a monthly gathering with the Typeform team and the Typeform community to answer any question you may have, pending question you may have regarding what you want to do with Typeform. So bring up all your questions. So from the Typeform team here, we have James and Lise. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Liz. I mean, you guys know me. I drop GIFs everywhere and usually fun photos of the things I am snacking on. So probably caught on by now.
And I'm James. I'm also on the community team. I'm trying not to snack because the snacks, they don't sit well with me. Yeah, hi, welcome.
Cool. And from the community, we also have Des, who's also joining us. What's up?
I would say the ceiling.
Good dad joke.
Good one. So I think we're gonna go over some new stuff that have been happening in the Typeform product, some new stuff that come up, and as well as like what happened in the community, and then I think we can take questions, right? All right. So what's new?
Notion.
Yeah, that's a
big
pretty
one.
big deal. That's a pretty big deal. Do you want to introduce what Notion is, maybe, or tell people what it is?
Sorry, it might be my internet today. It's been storming here, so I think it's me. Notion, we have an integration. Basically, connects with a database, so your data goes to Notion, which is awesome because they just come out with their API. I can't remember how long it's been. It's hard to keep track of time.
Yeah. So let me. I'll share my screen so you get to see it. If you're not familiar with Notion, it's a mix between a wiki, a database, a CRM. Like you can do a bunch of things in it, and people use it for like sharing internal knowledge. At least this is how we use it at Typeform. So we all aware of what a team is working on. We all have. Like if you want to see what a team is working on, you go on their page, you see who is part of the team, you see all the different projects, and then you create a page for each project. And those projects are organized in workspace. And this is our test workspace, right? So people use it for Kanban as well, or like moving cards into different categories and have a visual stuff. Each thing like this is like what they call a database, and inside a database you can have a page, and those pages you can define. You can make the content pretty, but you can also define different properties, and do then some filtering around the properties, some ordering, this type of thing. So there's a lot of like data that can go into this, and data. You know what's good for data? It's a good data collection tool.
They go hand in hand.
Yes. No, so they've been around for like 2 or 3 years at least. I've discovered them when I was when I joined Typeform, and it was great because as I joined, I was like, how we do this? Have we thought about this idea? Then you can just search, and you will see like the discussions that were already happening in the company, or like some of the projects that people have built previously. So you have this knowledge that passed from generations of employees. But obviously, at that time, they didn't have an API. And the cool thing that just happened 2 weeks ago is that they released publicly their API. And we've been lucky enough to have access to the API early on, so we were able to ship a Typeform integration before anybody else. And that's quite exciting. And so we can show you how that looks like and what you can do with it. And then let's say, for example, that's an example that I have here where I'm organizing a birthday party, and I'm a really organized person, who I tend to be, try to be, aspire to be. And so I would like to have a visual way to manage who's coming, who's bringing a +1, which type of food option they want, so I can order the proper amount of vegetarian options, the proper amount of vegan stuff. So I would like to track this in an easy way, and because I use Notion, I would like to track this in Notion. I can do that on a spreadsheet, on another spreadsheet, but this looks way better. So now I have this database that exists here. I have all this information in different columns. You can see that columns going to have different types. And so like this is a true false checkbox that you can check and uncheck. Here is like a select. So there are different options that you can do. Same thing for the menu options. You have emails, you have phone number, but the dates, and you have a bunch of different things as well on other types of columns. There are some that don't work yet with Typeform, so we'll go through this. So let's get rid of this extra column that I don't need. And let's go to our form. So welcome to my Typeform workspace. Very messy. So this is a lie with what I said earlier, that I would like to be an organized person. But here I have a form that I would like to send to my friends so they can RSVP to the party. And yeah, I would like to collect their details. So I'm going to get rid of that question that I don't need right now. And I'm going to republish this form. And here, you see I have a question about, hey, what's your name? Are you coming? Are you bringing a +1? Blah, blah. Options for food, phone number if we'd like to contact you, and the email address. And if we look at the logic, I even have a really nice logic where we said, oh, if you're not coming, then I'm not going to ask you any more questions. It doesn't make sense to ask you more questions. Oh, and I see a change now in the logic. The logic are a bit curved. It was not curved the last time I checked. We love curvy lines. That's great. So relevant questions to the relevant people. This is what you can do with logic. But now, now that I've been collecting these details, I don't want them to be on Typeform. I want them to be on Notion. So what I'm going to do, we go under the Connect panel, and this is our favorite place to hang out. This is where all the integrations and all the magic happens when you want to connect with your details. So you see an app here that you're not seeing because I'm building this integration right now and I'm adding new stuff to it. So there's a staging, but you will have access to the Notion one, and we're going to start from scratch. I'm going to delete the existing thing here. And yeah, so you can just start it and say like, oh, I found Notion if you by scrolling, but you can also search for it. So let's make it easier. You search for Notion, you click on Connect, and that's going to start the setup process. And the first step in this setup process is to connect with your Typeform account. So we're going to connect to our Typeform account. Oh, I have to, oops. I don't remember my password. I use one password for this type of things. All right, so I authorize the Typeform app, the Notion app, to access my Typeform account. And then I'm gonna authenticate to my Notion stuff. And first, I'm gonna do something in the back. So we have the best experience. Yes. All right, so now I'm going to authenticate to my Notion account. The Typeform wiki is the main Typeform wiki that we use, and only admins can have the possibility to add an integration to Notion workspace, and I'm not an admin on our own workspace, so we have a testing workspace. Here, And here you see all the things that this integration will be able to do on your Notion workspace. It's going to view and create pages. It can add pages, and it could see the users of your account. All right. And so here, this is your workspace. This is all the database you have access to. And so you can select either the integration has access to the whole workspace or just like specific pages. Let's do specific pages for now. So then you click allow access. You may see the screen because it takes a while between the moment the application has been authorized and the moment we can load all those different databases. It's normal. Just click on refresh. And now it should load all the databases there are in your account. And if it doesn't do it the first time, here we have it. And so here we see all the databases that are in the account, sorted by name. We had one here that was called birthday party. So we'll select birthday party. And now you can do the typical thing you do with a Typeform integration is the mapping. So decide what question on Typeform goes to what column on Notion. So let's do that quickly. We tried to put some emojis so it's a bit more visual and you know how to map things together. So that's the question about the name over here. The question about a +1. Where's it here? Question about the menu you want, and you see that like this is a select, so this is a multiple choice on Typeform. If I try to map it to an email, it's going to tell me, you shouldn't do this. So we try to guide you in what you can do and what you can't do. So let's do that properly. So this is the email, and phone number, yes. And I think with this, we mapped all the questions that we were interested to map, and that's it, really. So we do save the mapping. Everything seems to be connected, and now we'll see if that works. So we're going to open here our form, and I will have to come up with another funny name. It's going to be Dora the Explorer, who's coming to our party. She's going to need a +1. I'm sure she's bringing her monkey friend. And Dora she might be a vegetarian. She has a phone number. So I'm bad at inventing phone numbers. Yeah, that's the worst.
For 1, 2, 3.
It takes some time. And then we're going to do DoraTheExplorer.com. Yeah, she has an awesome domain name. And then you submit this form, and if everything works well, we see Dora has appeared on our birthday party. Woo! And this is it, really. Now, like every time someone's going to submit this form, you're going to see their response directly into Notion. And then on Notion, you can do a bunch of things now. If you want to know how many +1s are coming. So you know how many people are RSVP already. But if you want to know how many +1s are coming, you can do a count checked. And so you know that you're going to have to be ready for 12 + 4 people. If you want to know, if you want to filter, you can do, show me all the people that say they want some vegetarian option. Like you have the possibility to organize this data in different ways very easily by click, click, click. You can also make your own formulas to calculate stuff. You have a lot of flexibility. And then the cool thing, so this is just for a birthday party, so it's really limited. But if you wanted to take some notes, like imagine this is coming for a lead generation, like people sign up on your website and you want to keep track of this, you want to ping your team about this particular person so they get the attention. Here you can be, so I don't think James and Lizzie are in this. But I can ping any of my colleagues, really. Well, I'm going to ping myself because I don't want to disturb anybody. And be like, check this out. And then here, if you're having calls with this person, you can log all the calls here directly. So this is really a collaborative space. And so you can be very creative on how that works. All right.
Nico, quick question. Are there limitations on any of the question types inside of Typeform that won't replicate across? I thought I saw something about matrix, which is pretty standard in a lot of the integrations at this point, but anything else beyond that?
Yes, so that's a great question. There are things that are not mapped yet. Metrics and ranking, and file upload. So the first two are not mapped to a corresponding Notion column because I wouldn't know what to do with it. So there's probably, if you have an idea of what is the typically the best way to map those things, I would be very interested because we have different ways to map this, really. It could be part of a list like this. That would be an option, but there is no notion of ranking in Notion. So we can render, if we look at this, for example, this could be a multi-select. So if I want to say that this person is all this at the same time, this is possible, but there is no particular order, right? If I add vegan, now vegan is at the end. So there's no order in this. So it will be hard to replicate exactly the same structure that we have on Typeform. The alternative would be a string that is ordered in the way it was ordered on Typeform, but I don't know if you can really do any analysis on this. So
the parsing is good. Parsing it would be the difficult piece, but I think if it could be passed at least as a string, then you would have the choices. So for me, it's like, yeah, I start at the top as I would choose vegan. I would rank the vegan, then the vegetarian, and then get down to the omnivore menu personally. In that type of list, at least that would be there in the list. Same thing with the matrix. You're going to have a name value pair along those lines that gets passed, and so you'd have a chunk. So it'd be up to the figure out at the other end of the equation to parse it. So
yes,
Excel's the same thing. It won't take a matrix very well coming across. Google Sheets will.
Yeah, that's a good point. On the matrix, there's probably something to do where we say that each line in the matrix is a colon, and then the grade, like what you put, the value would then become an option here. That could be one way. Yeah, that's good. Then that's something we should look into. The reason why we don't map the files, although there is a file colon here, is because this colon is not available yet in the Notion API. So it doesn't make sense to let you put it if we can't send it to Notion. And once we can do the file, I'll tell you there are many things we can do. So first, you can have it here as a file. So like any other files. Let's see. Yeah, so you upload the file like this, but it can also be on the page, and that's something that's not yet available, but eventually will be coming as a cover. So like they give you random cover, but if we want, we can post an image here. And when you do this, you can then use the gallery view. So gallery view is a way to show everything at once. This is not very appealing, but if I go in the settings of Notion and I can say gallery view, and I want the preview to be the page cover, then suddenly this image is interesting. And so if people were uploading files and you want to showcase visually those files in the gallery view, that would be possible. But this is not possible yet with the API, but I will be very excited about this feature very soon. And then the things that are missing is hidden fields and variables. Those are coming. If not this week, probably next week. And then there is a limitation, and this is what I was telling you I'm working on, is like, okay, now that we've done this setup, so the cool thing is like I can go back to it. I can go back to it and edit it. So if I added a new column, if there's something that's not mapped properly, like this skips it. But if I wanted to go to another form and map it, then it's going to show me an error that says that this integration has already been added to the workspace, and that's problematic. So this is also a limitation from. I'll pick a random form here to show you. This is also a limitation from Notion at the moment, where you can't have more than one form synced to Notion.
Do you happen to know if that's anything they're working on in the future to allow, or is it kind of like
yeah,
right
so
now?
no, they're working on this because this is definitely frustrating
Perfect.
for all of our users. Let me show you how that would look like. So if you go here, oh, well, maybe they already fixed it. Oh, well, forget what I just said.
I say give it a try so I can update our community thread about it.
Surprise! Damn. Okay. Well, looks like it's not a problem anymore. Then forget what I just said. Perfect. That means whatever I've done yesterday doesn't need to be pushed to production. That's great. So yeah, looks like you can sync with more than one form now. It was for sure a limitation we had early on. The API is still very new, it's still in beta. So yeah, we have to bear with them and yeah, support that. What else can I tell you about this? Nothing much really. If you have any feedback on what using it every day, things that you're missing, some mapping that we don't allow you to do when we should let you do it, please let us know. Yeah, we want to see what you build with it. What crazy idea you build with this. People are also building websites with Notion. So if you like this and you want to showcase on your website who has a REST-VP to the party, there are ways now to extract these data and display it on a website. So that's also very interesting if you want to do reviews, if you want to do showcase, if you want to do a portfolio. My whole website is tell me.
So, sorry, Nick. I was going to say, I guess in theory you could embed a Typeform and a Notion board on the same page, right?
Show your results on
and
the
then
same
have
area.
whatever you input update.
Exactly. So let's do this.
And an easy way to do show results without having to do a ton of coding.
Yeah.
Something people hate, understandably.
And it's great for your team as well. If you do internal forms, that's also a place. But that's something that was there from the beginning. If you paste a Typeform link, it will recognize it as is, and it gives you the option to embed. And now this goes into the body of your page, and here you have the full control of how big you want it, how it should be. And so this page could be internal, this page could be public, you decide where it goes. But yeah, good point on embedding the form. Yeah, and so we have linked Typeform to Notion, still some stuff to improve. But next week, we have a hack together stream where we're going to connect Typeform with VideoAsk and through the API. So if you want to see how it's built behind the scene, if you want to hack it on your own, that would be the place as well. And we're going to go discover this new Notion API together.
Sounds amazing. And we'll put the details of that on the community and the events page ASAP. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have the info all up there for you.
All right. So beside Notion, what else? What's going on in the world?
I heard there was a Salesforce 2.0 that came out that I also personally have not checked yet, but I could be wrong. Am I wrong? Is there an update to Salesforce or no?
I'm sure there's I'm sure there's an update. I'm sure we're shipping new updates every now and then, but I'm not the most Salesforce person.
Yeah, I heard this too, Liz, from the partnership team, that there are two new things. I don't have access to the integration myself, but they're they're introducing the ability to sync records at lower frequencies. So before it was like 60 minutes and 24-hour intervals, but now I'm just reading it here. We've introduced sync frequencies of 5, 10, and 30 minutes.
Oh,
So I guess
huge improvement.
That sounds cool. And the other thing is the ability to update records in Salesforce instead of just creating new ones.
Also huge. Okay, that's good news.
Cool, but maybe we can do a more in-depth dive on that at some point on the community. Yeah,
Salesforce is not an easy thing, and everybody has a different setup. So it might work in some places, it doesn't work in other places, but they'll work around, and I'm sure we can have a dedicated session to Salesforce.
Probably not a bad idea.
5 hours long.
Marathon session.
You're just going to scratch the surface there, James.
Yeah, true. It could be like a Netflix series, maybe.
A mini series.
The other thing is there's a Send Blue integration, which I think was developed on their side, right? Do you know anything about that one, Nico?
Yes. So Send Blue. Let me pull up a relevant screen to show. So Send Blue is an awesome company that lets you send email and SMSs. So everything that's around email marketing and mailing lists, these type of things. We just added the integration to the listing. This has been available on their site for a couple of weeks already. But now if you want to add someone to a campaign, an email campaign that you're managing through Send Blue, or if you want to send in an SMS, this is all possible with this new integration. I don't have it set up, so I can't really show it, but it's a straightforward thing where, similar to other integration, you're logging into your Typeform, and then you do the mapping on which question is which, what is an email, what is a phone number.
Nice.
And they are European, I'll say. So if people want to use European solutions and they're concerned about that, that will be a good alternative to other tools.
Be cool too for people that have been wanting to connect their forms to send text messages and stuff right after, because it's been not janky before, but like a harder process, I feel like.
Yeah, and they have the whole drip campaign thing where if you add someone now and you want to send an email 2 weeks later, if they have an answer, send them or something else. Like you can be really creative with your email campaigns. If there's this is the page. Let me. This page on Sending Blue website that lets you create a contact, and they have also like workflows and stuff. So have fun.
Send all the messages.
Don't spam. Be nice.
I'm just kidding. Are there any other new integrations that we didn't cover that I'm trying to think if there's anything else? Can't think of anything.
I can't think of anything. No, I think that's the main ones.
Yeah, product-wise, anything that's new that we shipped in the last month? Some subtle stuff that maybe no one has seen.
Product-wise, I think we covered the main. I mean, I think that the big ones were obviously the new the ranking block, which kind of came out a month or two ago, and the new logic flow logic map. But kind of major update-wise, I don't think we've got any big things to update unless someone else can think of anything.
Cool.
The only thing that was updated, I think, a little bit was the accessibility. There was a good discussion that the team had on what was done there and some of the features. I think that during that particular session, I asked the question about, is there a utility that will test a type form to say where you are in this sort of a grade in terms of accessibility compliance. I mean, not everybody is going to be compliant. I mean, and even in Paul's little bit this week on his Meaningful Monday about sending the response to, we'll send you a Spotify list, and the woman was deaf. So that type of thing with a number of the pieces around accessibility and what you can and can't do to improve, as an individual when you're creating a form, what you can do, what you can't do. And some of the people want to remove, for example, I'm seeing a lot of folks that when you hover over a multiple choice list, it says key A, key B, and people don't. And I'll say this: those of non-British background in the United States don't understand what you mean by key. It's like they say key is actually a verb, right? Key the A key, press the is what it means. And can we change it? Can we take it out? Well, if you take it out, then now you're not being accessible, because you're not giving somebody who's using a screen reader or anything else what they should do around the instructions. It's like putting alt tags for images. So those types of things, there are accessibility tools that are out there that will look at websites, for example, but not necessarily looking at the Typeform. So just as a thought for that team looking at accessibility might be to look at, is there at least a checklist for people to say, these are the things that fall into the accessibility realm. If you have them in your site, you're going to be more or less compliant with the requirements. So just a thought.
So that's a good point. Like, that's something that the team is improving every day. Like we have a team dedicated to that effort, and they did a session this last week where they mentioned the stories and how they went through that process to find out how people were using it and what is it to use the internet in a different setup. For sure, there are improvements that are being made, but it's not as visual, as shiny, I think, for all of us. But for the people that use it every day, it's a game changer. This is mostly on the respondent experience. So we really focus on the respondent experience because this is exposed to millions of people every day. And we try to eventually go to the builder, but that will be probably in the second step. But there's definitely some improvements there. If you're interested by that topic, we have in the Help Center, it's loading here. If you search for accessibility, you will see all the norms that we're following and all the stuff we have implemented, as well as recommendations on how to create an accessible theme. So this is also very important when you pick colors. We try to help you out on this and images. So good thing to have in mind, definitely, and raise awareness around. In terms of new stuff, this is really specific to developers, but I would like to share with you that we have a new Embed SDK. So if you've been trying to embed your form into web pages, you can have an easy experience as we've shown with Notion, where you just paste a link and it automatically recognizes. But if you wanted to have, and you can also, of course, where am I? Here. You can, of course, use the snippets here that are all available for all the different setups, like we give you a code. But if you wanted to have more control, if you wanted to do this in a systemic way, if you wanted to offer this to your customers on their own website, then you might be interested by the Emit Sdk. The Emit Sdk is a JavaScript library that helps you embed a form. Really, this is all it does. But you have all the control of how it's going to look. Is it a pop-up? Does it take a full page? What is going to happen when the form is submitted? Is it going to close? Is it do something else? And so we had this library for a couple of years, but it was a heavy library. It was taking a couple of hundreds of kilobytes to load, and that was putting a lot of weight on your pages and taking a long time to load. Well, the team has worked on a new library, so now it's lighter, it has more functionalities, and it's on par with all the new embed options that were developed. So I really encourage you to go to our technical blog here on Medium, where you can read about the behind the scenes and how they managed to ship this new library. And then we're going to have a session specifically about this on the 10th of June for all the people that want to hack. We're going to look at this and look at all the different options.
Do you have the link to that, or where can people find the link to that event on the 10th?
It's going to be on the community events.
Perfect.
You will find it there. And I'll be joined with Mathieu, who built this library and can tell us about the behind the scene and the new ways of using it.
Two things just to come back to the Notion side for a second. One was that if I recall an earlier post that you made in the community, Nico, that the from Airtable you could create a type form on the fly.
Yep.
Is there the same concept out of Notion?
One thing at a time, but yes, it's
okay.
It's,
just say just yeah.
No, you exactly pointed the right thing. It makes perfect sense. It's the same thing. Like you have a base that's organized, a database that's organized. You already have columns that are there. It will be really bad for us to let you do the work a second time and putting all those questions manually. So there's definitely something coming around there where we'll let you create forms from a Notion database. Just a matter of building it.
So that was just one of the questions that I had scratched out earlier on. Was it because that was I'm not a large Airtable user. I'm trying to explore how it can fit into what I'm trying to do. But in terms of being able to go through and do that, coming out would be much faster than trying to recreate it and then map. Yep. The second part, and same thing in Notion. And then the other side, Liz, when she mentioned embedding both on the page, Notion and a Typeform, you embedded a Typeform into a Notion page in the little example that you did. But what about on a website? One of the things that we've seen in the community, and I've tried to look at this, and there's just been a couple of posts in the last 2 days, is that when you put in the answers, can you generate a report or see the data automatically, immediately after that question? So somebody had gone through and was trying to work on a thread where they had been able to go through and redirect to the actual results link inside Typeform to pull that out. Well, if you have that data in a Notion database, if you are putting stuff in the and embed a Typeform at the top of the mywebsite.com, and then below that you're embedding the Notion database. So literally what you would be doing is passing through to the bottom half of the page at the same time. Would that be feasible, or are you going to run into some interrupt calls in the middle of that?
No, I think this is what we tried to show earlier, where you can have the form and the database that is linked to on the same page, and as it's embedded, there is no redirection at the end of the form. It stays on the same page. So the only option is to redo the form, and the data will come as you're submitting them. It will be the data in the database will pop up the same way.
But that was inside Notion.
Yes. So inside Notion, this is possible. If you were embedding it on the website and you wanted to have the database shown on the website, it's a question of what.
That's a hack to figure out.
Yeah, that's a hack to figure. It's not impossible. It's more, what do you use to display this data? So if it's the practical thing in Notion is that it's a Notion database inside Notion, so it's all aware of the Notion stuff and you can visualize it. But embedding a Notion database, it's not common, and I don't think there is anything for embedding a Notion database in a website yet. But if you wanted to do this, we actually have examples on more on the developer side of things, where through the webhook, so whenever someone submits a form, we send you the data. Through the webhook, you can then add this to your database, and then you have something on your website that just gets the database every second, second, or in real time. So it pops up in real time.
Tying into that thread, there's somebody out on the community who has just done a Python bit that he has posted on that port that said that he's been able to go through to go through and actually generate graphs. And I haven't had a chance to test that particular piece out. I think Gabriel pointed it across to you or around that side to look at. But that unto itself, I think, is going to be really fun for a number of us who are working a lot with data in the back end. If we can, and I'll say, monetize that into a fashion that makes sense.
Yeah, so from what I looked at, so this is a project that Maximo has shared in the community page, and it has a GitHub repo, very well documented, both in English and French, so quite impressive work. And so what it does, it's using the responses API to retrieve all your responses and do some analysis around this. So it's a bit less real time than what you're trying to describe, but that will work in a similar fashion, yeah.
One other thing, Des, that's a possibility, I'm just thinking now, in terms of kind of displaying results from a Typeform, you can, if you're using Airtable, you can embed an Airtable database into a web page. And can I share my screen? I'll show you something that we did.
Yeah, share screen.
So this is a post that we wrote way back last year when COVID kind of just hit. And what we were doing is we were kind of showcasing folks who have been using Typeform to kind of basically on COVID-related projects. So there were all these kind of cool things that people were doing, and they were using Typeform, whether it was for kind of finding donations or kind of having there's some like really crazy stuff, like having people kind of sign up to teach piano classes online, things like that. But essentially what we did with this is we had a Typeform that people filled out. So these people would apply for a discounted Typeform license, and we would in exchange say, oh, can you share your story? So we had a Typeform kind of questionnaire with that. And then what we did is basically piped that into an Airtable. So all of the responses to the questionnaire went into an Airtable, and then we embedded the Airtable here within the article. So you can see that like basically all of these folks here filled out the Typeform. And if you click on one, this is like the answers basically to the questionnaire that we gave them. So like, what's your URL? What type of project is it? What were you doing? And so as soon as basically they submitted that, it kind of shoots into here live within the Airtable. So in theory, you could, and this is like the gallery view in Airtable, you can kind of have a more kind of traditional database view in there. So in theory, you could use Airtable to kind of display those results in real time. And I think it's pretty much instant. So that's another possible solution. You say you're kind of starting to explore Airtable. I personally think it's amazing. I love using it. It's like really, it's like Excel on steroids, you know.
Love Airtable.
Yeah.
In terms of this is the blog. I've read the blog post and seen that, but I wasn't aware that it was actually the Airtable was actually live and behind it. Is there a how we built it article that goes along with that, so that as an example or a tutorial for folks to try out?
We do have not this specifically, but we do have a tutorial on how we use Airtable for our customer stories and kind of intake submission. It doesn't go into like the embedding stage, but yeah, I can dig that out and we can put up the link. 1 second.
Because I think
that's actually on the community.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that for users, I mean, there's lots of these possible connections. Part of it is, what's the use case? If you see something like that, then how do you translate that into something that I can try and test, or I could look at doing to do that? I mean, for me, I'm just looking at that. Is that okay? If I took all the T-shirt quotes and slogans that I have and I put those up into something along those lines, every time I add another one to the list, I can now expand that onto the site automatically, put a description in there. I'm working with an international walking club, a federation of walking clubs, and trying to help them get a better presence. They started based out of former military folks who, as part of the PT that they did in the 60s and 70s, they kept walking. Anybody who got stationed in Europe in the Canadian Forces is part of that whole movement. It's a Volksport group. But when they start to go through and try to attract younger folks, how do you go through and do that? Because they're not military, it's not a different style. So how can you make it a little more technology friendly to go through and do? So in that type, this interactive type of put in a profile, I'm looking to go. I'm going to be in Barcelona in September, not personally, but I'm going to be in Barcelona. I'd like to go and do some walking around the city, but I wouldn't mind finding some people who are doing some, who would be willing to go and spend an hour showing me their favorite part of the city or historic walk. Now all of a sudden say, okay, well, who is this person? What do they look like? Are they an axe murderer? I know I look like one, but how do you put that out there so that that's this type of a walking buddy match type thing? That'd be very cool.
That's nice. Yeah, maybe we could look at kind of simulating something like that and putting it up. It sounds like an interesting use case for sure.
I mean, because there's all these different integrations, but for a lot of folks, what I'm seeing in the community are people are coming in at a specific point. They're trying to do one function, like a single point piece of interaction with Typeform, and then somebody's coming back a little bit later on. I got another point of interaction with Typeform instead of planning out as a process along the lines. So this start a small business from scratch piece. If you use Typeform as a platform or as the core of your ecosystem, what are the things you need to connect to? Airtable for this, HubSpot for a small CRM, or Notion. What are the things that would help you do all of these pieces to build out the core of a small business? And then where are you going to, and how do you move the information or connect all the data between those? I mean, that type of scenario may be an interesting, whether it's an office hours or a forum, maybe a way to look at it.
Totally, Des. And this is something that we explored, we talked about internally a year or two ago. Like, never really kind of developed it, but like this idea of having almost like a template of how to run a solution, depending on like if you're working in the hotel industry. So like everything you need from like intake form, like registration forms, to feedback on the cleaning services and how that integrates kind of with your other systems. We were kind of throwing around the idea of like, how do we actually kind of do that, where we can kind of serve up something that's like plug and play almost, whether that's in the product or through content that we serve up. So yeah, it's a really interesting concept, and it's something that I think would really help folks out, right? Having that kind of like hand holding, if you like, of like, okay, well, you need this for this. This is kind of what the form should look like. Now go off and kind of connect it to whatever system you need. So yeah, really kind of keen to explore that.
I think you're touching.
And you've got all the native in it. Go ahead, Nico. Sorry.
No, I think you're touching on what's going on right now with the no-code movement and the no-code community. This is pretty much what people are doing, right? They have a bunch of tools together, and they connect them to build their website, their product, their thing. And one that I wanted to show you, for example, is like you're talking about Airtable, right? So this is called Softer, and they let you build websites with Airtable, right? So you organize your data into tables, into items, into things like this. And then from there, they generate a website. And so this is, for example, a course website where you have all different classes and stuff. But in the end, so like there's different cards with videos, but in the end, this data is organized as an Airtable. For the end user that consumes this website and goes on this website, they don't know, they don't need to know. But for you, it's very simple to maintain and render.
So cool. I love Airtable. That's why I have plenty of things and lists there.
and so this is on Airtable because they had an API for a while, and a lot of people have used it. But this is probably also coming to Notion because there's a big Notion community, and you can do similar things with Notion. And the API just came out, so I'm sure you're going to see stuff.
I mean, this is a very cool little piece, and I think as we start to see more people coming into the community and looking at the integrations that they want to try and go through. I mean, you have, can you do this? You can't. It doesn't do it natively with the integration that Typeform has, but if you look at Zapier, then yes, you can get it over there. Or if you look at Integromat, it's here. Or Automate.io, it's over here. I would like to see, and I know that we have Michaela from Integromat in the community, reasonably often. She's looking at various things in there. I'd like to see some of the other folks come in as well, because there's no, it'd be a little more helpful to, just to have one or two of those guys, I won't say trolling the community, but there's opportunities for them to say, hey, yeah, you can do that with Zap. You can do a Zap for that, or there's Automate.io has got that over here this way. I mean, here's a business function. There's this native integration. So, for example, with Mailchimp, you can create the first record, but you can't update it. You can't add anything to it natively. So you need to use something else. So you need to use, so that's the sort of thing that there's a little bit of stepwise things that people are coming in and, it's a point. I got the first one, yay, but I can't update it I can't take the results from the survey and add it back to a Mailchimp record from Typeform. I have to go through somebody else's tool. So, Liz does a great job of that. She's Ms. Integration. So 2 thumbs up. Where's the center of the screen here? Okay.
I've used every product ever.
Can we pull off of that tangent, Des, that you've just mentioned, for us to plug, talking of Liz and integrations and you, to plug a new feature on the community, the Workspace Invaders, because I know we're short of time. Can I have 1 minute, Nico, to plug this?
Oh yes, go for it. I'm looking for it on the website. So. Okay.
While you're looking, maybe I'll briefly kind of touch on the concept, and then maybe Des can talk about his part in it. So basically,
you're going off camera right now.
No, you stick around. We have a new feature called Workspace Invaders, where we want to showcase what people are doing with Typeform. So including the solution that they've built in Typeform and how it's integrated with the rest of their tools. Now, the first edition of this, and our guinea pig, willing guinea pig, I might add, for this was Des, and we featured his coffee-themed T-shirt business, and we basically, Des had done this talk at our Meaningful event, and we kind of repurposed that and pushed it out there. Des, I don't know if you want to kind of give a bit more info about your experience and your part in it.
I came, I saw, I spoke. You said you're posting it one way or another.
No, you volunteered.
No, I think it's the being asked to present it at Meaningful based on trying to do something with Typeform. I mean, I have 2 businesses. One is on data governance, data quality. The other is on this little side thing of creating a T-shirt. And I have my respect to being T-shirt on right now. There we go. Respect the bean. And which Amy Carlson bought, by the way. She ordered one of those. Longer story, she can tell you why. However, all of that turned into being asked to go through and present at Meaningful on what did I do to actually go through, start from nothing in terms of understanding Typeform, using the community, using the resources available to build out something that could go on and do that. Now, and I will say there is one slight typo or misquote. It's like turning a love of coffee and sarcasm into a side hustle. It should have been. I think James took the liberty of changing that to humor.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
I know. That would be me. So I mean, so it was interesting to be able to go through and speak at the and offer up what I had learned at Meaningful. One of the things that I had done in the Meaningful session was to go through and use Typeform to create the presentation. Not only I didn't use PowerPoint. I wanted to try to see if I could use Typeform to actually generate and drive the presentation. And so that was, for me, that was fun to be able to go and do that and not use standard Typeform and then have to keep switching screens and going back and forth to the other sides. I was able to drive out of that to the Google Sheets, to the other pieces that we're doing. It was fun. And then it actually allowed me to go through and expand how I was able to go through and use and control some of Typeform. In order to go through and put it up so that people could walk through that presentation that you pointed a link to, I had to go back and change some of the dynamic pieces in the back end to some static pieces. So which was fine. And I know that there's some things in there, the Google Sheets, the array formula functions on Google to actually pull data across to different sheets. That's something else that I think we could probably do another office hours on. It's not so much I would say not office hours, but a little tutorial. The Typeform data going into Google Sheets. Well, how do you actually extract that and do reporting? I mean, Norden had done a really nice little piece, with the Data Studio from Google, and then a couple of others have done some other things with the Google things. But it was an honor, and I appreciate it. Thank you, James, for badgering me into doing that and agreeing to do it as part of the guinea pigs. I think it's good. We just need to get some more people to volunteer to put their stuff up there.
So what's coming, James, on the programming?
Well, there's hot off the press today. Liz, I believe, is going up the next installment, right?
That would be correct. We have kind of a workflow from a company called Locusly. They basically help scientists find the experiments they need to do, and they had a really cool thing they discovered they had like 45 endings in one of their forms and wanted to send emails based on those endings, and they used webhooks and Zapier and Gmail to create that. So that's what's coming out.
Cool. It's pretty nifty, and that should be out on the community today.
All right, keeps you guys open to and check the community page often.
Yeah, and obviously, if anyone's watching here and they have a workflow they want to share, we'd love to hear, and we'd love to kind of show it off and give you the credit you deserve for doing great things, just as Des did.
And that little tool that you were using, the James, and we get the big heart and the hand movements, and I tested that out as well to try and do something, and it's handy, it's neat, but you end up with picture-in-picture on another piece, and I ended up I actually made it work a little bit more in terms of doing that presentation itself, as an example, by having to create a Zoom session with the session embedded into it, so I actually had the slides over my shoulder and I could play around in that side. So it's actually a cool little tool that you were using for that front end piece. It should be fun.
It's a quirky little thing, yeah. And Liz and I had a very strange meeting where we tried to do a co-presenting with it, and
not recommend.
Yeah, it got weird pretty quickly.
Well, even by myself, it had its learning curve.
It's really
again,
early
tying
on
all of those things into a small business bundle of how to do all of these things, because you've got Loom, on one side to create small videos to show things. You've got all these other bits that you can use. There's a lot, and I think you guys are doing a great job of pulling this together. And I think from the community side of the house, my hat goes off to you. Even with the COVID here, it's not like James, flying everywhere, just going straight up. But as we go through this, the support that people are giving, from Typeform to the folks in the community is great. I know that there are a number of people who complain about access to the support team, customer support, and not being a phone accessing it. So people are still slowly getting used to this. This isn't an enterprise tool like SaaS or anything else where you're getting you have 24/7 phone support available for clients. It's a new world in those areas. So people are starting to look to the community. There's a couple of posts today where there's one guy's looking for 3 answers, and 2 of them are actually quite complex. So the answers like that from the folks inside of Typeform and the due diligence that folks are doing to answer those is amazing. So my hat off to you folks for that part, all across the board.
This is nice. You don't see that, but I'm sure Liz and is blushing. James are blushing.
I don't
Yeah,
blush.
more for what
Don't
Des
blush.
said about my hair.
No, that's really cool. So we are at the hour. I don't see any question from the audience either on Twitch or YouTube. But yeah, we cover different things on the new product, new integrations, question that you had on how to connect things and how to display data, as well as showcasing our new series of webinar through the Workspace Invaders. Anything else we should mention of what's coming next in the future in the next couple of days, weeks?
Just surprises.
Yes.
Unending surprises.
Keep it vague. That's good. I like it. Cool. So we do this once a month. I think we have the dates for the next one, but I don't have a calendar in front of me. But it's going to happen once a month. So you're welcome to join us if you want to showcase something. If you want to showcase what you've built with Typeform, this is also the forum where you can share this. If you want to bring your questions and your issues, this is a perfect forum as well. And then until then, you can watch it again on YouTube and Twitch. All right.
Well, thank you very much for hosting the code.
Yeah, welcome. I'll end the live. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.